Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Today is Wednesday, the 31st of December. That means tonight the new year rocks in, and we get all of our New Year's resolutions together and decide not to do any of them, right? All I can tell you is that this puppy hasn't seen the ball drop in I don't know how many years. I'm in bed by 7, and then usually up around 2:33. So I'm still getting my hours of sleep. It just I'm just on a different time zone, maybe. Anyhow, so I thought today we'd round out the end of the year with we've been talking about new old stock and what to do with it. Let's take it a step further and let's talk about what the markup should be in your shop on new parts as you're bringing them in and how to do it fairly because it's very complex if you really think about it. And I'll go into it, so stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, December 31st of 2025. So tomorrow is January 1st of the new year, 26, right? So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how do we price parts in the shop. And it doesn't matter whether you're a retail establishment or you are a repair only or a combination of both. You have to have some kind of a strategy to mark up the parts. You can't sell them at cost, right? Because if you sell them at cost, you're going to be going backwards. And this isn't talking about selling them on eBay and anything else. This is through your shop. This is at home where your business is. So what I've always done on the home front, which is different than the online front, is that anything under $10, I mark it up 100%. Okay? And what does that mean? It means on an item that's $9, you're going to mark it up another 9, so it's going to be $18. So anything under $10, I mark up 100% right off the bat. And that could be an O-ring that I paid 60 cents for, selling it for $1.20. Because I'll tell you, what I learned early on in the parts business of selling online was I would rather sell one hydro gear and make $70 than sell 70 widgets and get $1 a piece for them. Because of the time involved in paying people to process and do stuff. So the low dollar items actually take longer and cost more to get them into inventory, right? You still got to pay somebody to bring them in and go through them. And when we were selling online, I mean, we were taking I started getting rid of anything under $10. I wasn't going to do anything for under 10. The shop, I did. All right, so we know that 100% up to $10. All right, from $10 to $25, 40 to 50% markup is what we used to do, or we still do. And then for those items that are big ticket items, engines, lower units, I mean, what have you, we would mark them anywhere between 30 and 40%. And you have to be careful with this pricing strategy too, because nowadays people are pretty savvy about getting online and checking around to see what something sells for. And I get a lot of tire kickers that will call the shop and say, "Do you have this part?" "Yep." "How much?" I tell them, "All right, I'll get back with you," which means, no, I'm not getting back with you. Because they found it online for a lot cheaper and now they're willing to wait. You're going to deal with that. So that's why a lot of small engine repair shops have gone out of business, is because you can't make it on just repairs. As much as you'd like to, you need to mark up the parts too. Or you need to make your hourly rate even more. Somewhere it's got to give because somewhere you got to cover the overhead. And what happened and what took place was a lot of these mom and pop shops, and I consider myself a mom and pop, okay? But a lot of mom and pop shops weren't ready for the China Revolution, okay? And when it happened, their customers stopped coming to them. And even the internet revolution of eBay and Amazon, a lot of customers that were going to a lot of these shops were now going to me online and having it shipped right to them cheaper than what they could buy it locally. That's what hurt the mom and pops. It wasn't because they were poor business people. They got caught up in the wave. And it was a tsunami, whatever they call them. But that's what happened to a lot of them. They got caught with their pants down. They just didn't know what to do. So a lot of them continued on using their savings and stuff to try to keep the ship afloat until finally they ran out of savings. So when you're doing this pricing thing, you need to understand that most of your customers are savvy enough to go online and check and see how much China is selling it for. So if you're buying it off from eBay and you're paying $12 to bump it up 40, 50%, because you still got to pay shipping on that, and you still got to pay sales tax on that. Unless you register as a business like us, you still have to cover somewhere in that item. Shipping is figured in. All right. So if you get it for $12.95 free shipping, and you've got your sales tax in eBay's hands, so they don't have to collect it because they collect all the sales tax now, then you're going to pay sales tax on it too. For us, we don't. We've got it listed that, we are a legit business, and they know we're a legit business. We've been affiliated for years. But even if you're buying there and you're paying, let's say $10 for a carburetor, $20 isn't a lot of money to ask for a customer to have it right there handy and local. And a lot of times they're willing to pay that extra $10 just to save the hassle of getting the wrong one or what have you. So when we are working in the shop on custom machines, if we decide to buy a Chinese carburetor for $10, I'm going to mark it up to $19.95 or $19.90, something like that. And some of you are going to say, well, that's not fair. And I've had customers tell me, well, that's not fair. Well, here's fair. A, I didn't tack on the labor of doing parts lookups and finding what part you needed and then going and finding it, then buying it with my own account, my own money, and then waiting for it to come in before we put it all back together. There's more than just the part. There's time invested in doing inventories. There's time invested in employees bringing stuff in, putting it on the shelves and everything. Granted, most of the stuff that I buy now is stuff that we need for the shop. The only thing I buy ahead are like oil filters, fuel filters, a certain number of air filters that are common. But other than that, we're buying as we need it. We have a ton of spark plugs. I carry 3 major models. And rope and all the other good stuff. All your basics. But other than that, I don't buy a lot ahead. And the reason I don't buy a lot ahead, we talked about that with the new old stock thing, is that it's going to become no longer available in a short period of time. So I don't want to sit on more inventory. This is not the time and the place to sit on it. Now, what's the drawbacks to doing it this way? If you haven't got it, then your customer is just going to say, well, it's just as easy for me to order as it is for you. True. But we've also got a standing policy of we don't, we do on rare occasions, but the shop rule is no. You do not go buy the parts and bring them to us and we'll fix it. It's not happening because 90% of the time the customer gets the wrong parts. They go for the cheapest way out. And for me anyways, when I get ready to order parts, we don't order parts until we have it tore down to see exactly what is going on. We don't guess of what it could be and then order the parts and then hope for the best. No, we do a tear down. And one example is we had a generator come in. It's a 13,000 watt generator and it runs on propane or gas. And we couldn't get it to have any compression. And the guy said he didn't want to put a lot of money into it. But as I explained to him and Claude, that machine there is like a $6,000 machine. And if we can fix it for reasonable, then I think it'd be worth it to him. So we just could not get any compression no matter how much Claude adjusted the valves. Come to find out, one of the keepers was missing so that the valve and the spring wasn't working anyways. It was moving, but it wasn't doing anything. And what had happened was the valve had dropped and the piston hit it and bent it. And it wasn't allowing it to seal anyways. Even if we did get it back together, it wouldn't seal. So in that case, I tore the head completely off so that we could get access to take a look at it. And sure enough, it was bent. Claude tried a trick that he tried years ago, and that's laying it flat and then hitting it with a hammer, but that just busted the valve right in half. Found the valves for the intake and exhaust sold together. They're $49. Ordered them. I'm going to charge him $69 to $70 for the pair. Put it both in, put it back together, and then his machine should be up and running again. We got his other one going, his Predator. That's all running and doing what it should do. So I don't order any parts for a machine until we get it tore down to see exactly what it is. And the reason I don't is, an example, we just did a 50-inch front-mounted snowblower, okay? And the gearbox had disintegrated. And the cheapest one I could find was $939 shipped to me. I called locally to the Kubota dealership, and they said that they could get me one. They didn't have one in stock, but it'd probably be around the 4th or 5th of January. So I called up Mesnick's. I deal with Mesnick's a lot, and they're a good company to deal with if you want to get hooked up. I give them a show. I logged into my account online and punched in the part number, and they had 3 of them. And Claude didn't want to tear anything apart until we got the gearbox in. And I'm like, we need to tear this thing down. So if there's other parts that we need, we can get them ordered at the same time. No. So I went ahead and I ordered the gearbox. The gearbox showed up. And then Claude couldn't get the bearing and seal set system off from the other shaft. So what ended up happening is he had to cut them off. So what did that mean? That went back to Mesnick's, and I had to order just that bearing cup and stuff to put on the new one. That was an additional $11, $12 shipping that I could have saved if it would have gone on the first order with the. That's why I always tell people, do not order until you get it tore down. Don't guesstimate that you think you got it all figured out, because it's going to be those itty-bitty parts that are going to kick you in the ass. So when you're pricing parts inventory, if you follow that scale, but on average, as a repair shop, you need to be getting somewhere between 30 to 40% markup overall to make your shop somewhat profitable. And then you have your labor. And depending upon your location and your skill level will determine that as well. You could do one of two things. You can either drop what you're charging for a markup on the parts and raise the cost of hourly that you're going to bill the customer, or you're going to set up these three different, because it's not fair to charge 100% markup on a $300 part, right? That's $600. I mean, it'd be nice if we could make that kind of money, but that's just not feasible. But on a dollar part, making a dollar, so you're selling it for $2, you got to. If you're going to deal in the small gaskets and like that, you need to mark it up 100%. Your stuff between 10 and 25, you can do the 50 to 60%. And then anything over 25, 25 to even 100, if you did, 40, 50%. And then when you get anything over 100, drop it to 20 to 30%, somewhere in there. Let me know in the comments how you price it. If you're going to buy stuff through if you buy through the manufacturer, like we have accounts with all of them, if you go with their list price, you're actually going to lose money. And I've seen so many shops just automatically go with that list price. And that list price is somewhere between 20 and 30% markup. The overhead on most shops, you're going to lose. Your heat, your lights, your insurances, payroll taxes. Unless you're really slamming a lot of parts through your system. But if you're slamming a lot of parts through your system, that means more employees are taking more time and then you're putting on more employees to handle it, right? So everybody's different. Even the auto parts have different markups. Some are crazy on certain things. And there's a hydraulic filter that I needed for a tractor a couple weeks ago. And I could get it online for like $11. And I called the local auto parts store to see if they get that filter for me. And they said, yeah, it'd be $115. Now, I don't know where they were buying their filter from, but I know where I was getting it from was eBay. And mine sounded a whole lot better than theirs, so I ordered it. Actually, I ordered 2 and I billed the customer for 2. And broke even, and I got one on the shelf. So in the comments, let me know how you're doing it, what you think of today's video. And I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. Be safe. I'm not telling you to stay in like me, like a hermit, and be in bed by 7. But if you're going to drink wisely, don't drive, and just stay safe. We got to keep you around. On that note, you guys have a great Wednesday and a great new year.